guys, this is Erico and I am back again on your computer screen. So you guys are doing fantastic because you're watching this video. You stumbled across this video. Hi, nice to meet you. If you're not new, welcome back. The Olympic Games in Japan is very much still underway. Miss Rona is giving people free hugs. She is in the Olympic Village and she's giving hugs and kisses. Ugh. And Japan is like going through this thing where people are not vaccinated. If you don't want to get vaccinated, be careful. I'm not going to judge you for not getting vaccinated. Just please stay safe. But with all of this going on, there has been this other topic that's been brought up because the athletes that are representing Japan this time are very diverse. They're not just Japanese people. We got people that are of mixed lineage. We got people that are Haitian. And you might say, well, how did a Haitian person get on the Japanese women's basketball team? There are foreigners that were raised in Japan. There's some that were born in Japan because of their families being in the army and they learn how to speak fluent Japanese. They go to Japanese school. They're raised in the culture. They feel like they are Japanese on the inside, which I do think is problematic, but I'll get to that a little later on. So Naomi Osaka, the very famous tennis player who was of Japanese and Haitian descent, was lighting the cauldron, and there was this comment that was on the internet. Japan is always putting something racially sensitive on the internet. And they said that they felt like that a pure Japanese person should have had the honor to represent Japan in lighting this cauldron instead of Osaka herself. And this leads me to this whole back-breaking headache of a topic of people talking about someone being mixed race and where they belong, and this concept of being pure Japanese and how it does cause damage. And I think that there's nothing wrong with wanting your culture to be pure. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to uphold having a pure-blooded child in a Japanese family all across the board in many different races. There are people that say, I'm pro-black, I'm for having a black family, black wife, black husband. And my problem is when you start using this concept of being pure-blooded to be disrespectful to people that are not. There are many people who are just trying to live, and then you're throwing this rule on them and saying that you are less than because you're not pure-blooded. This is Japan, and people that are pure-blooded Japanese are the best there is. If you are not Japanese at all, you can't sit with us, basically. And you can imagine how this makes people feel. People feel like, well, I've given my all to appreciate the culture, to be a part of it. I was raised in it. And then there's still this sector of people, not all Japanese people, but there's this sector of people who still will constantly say that you are not good enough because of this. And I do believe that this needs to change and that people should be allowed to just be and just be seen as who they are. No one is saying that Japan has to change their whole culture because a lot of it is based on being pure Japanese. But I think that they need to bend a little bit to have a bit more sincerity for people that are coming in, that are not actually trying to change anything, but just want to be and live and not be seen as something as a disturbance or a hindrance, because that's what it feels like when you are somebody who is not from that racial group and this comes up. And then imagine someone who's mixed race and this constant tug and pull of where they actually belong. Someone telling you, no, you're this, no, you're that, and not being acknowledged for having a little bit more black blood or being a little bit more of a foreigner and then you constantly having to make up for that, and it gets tiring, and you kind of feel like that you have no place to belong. And I definitely understand that, but I think it's important that you learn that these people have problems within themselves, and that it's not something that you can really change. You can only be yourself and be positive and be happy. I've seen so many people that have experienced so many things with the Japanese culture and are still constantly positive, and they look for a light in that culture and people that are happy to meet them and that are happy to see them and do see them as human beings. There's also something I want to say, because I keep it real on this channel. As far as the East Asian community, Korean people, Japanese people, whether they're American, whether they're from their motherland, when it comes to people that are mixed with black and like Japanese, Korean, or whatever like that, a lot of them don't acknowledge that they're part Asian until they are successful. So as soon as something happens where they blow up and they get big time, and I've noticed this, I know there might be someone that might say, "I know that's not true." Yes, it is true. Here, the Asian community will come, many of you all, and you will be like, "Oh yeah, you know they have Korean, you know they have Japanese," but when they were just a regular smuggler person, you all really didn't have too much to say. Now that they've blown up, "Oh yeah, look at them, oh yeah, they have Asian." It's like, I hope that people in the Asian community accept these people that are mixed heritage all the time. Not just when it feels like it makes your race look good. Because with the black community, while there is a war in here with people that'll be like, well, mixed race people are not full black, and mixed race people are mixed and they can't be black, we still have this one drop rule, and we still do accept many people that are mixed with black. We do consider them black. I'm not saying that they're not mixed and they're not having another race inside of them, but I do consider them black as well, because they do have black lineage. I also consider them the other race. But I will say, you know, if they say that they're black, I will say that they're black as well. It's just that a lot of the half Asian, half black people I know tend to gravitate toward their black side because of this. Because a lot of the times, the black community will accept them more so than the Asian community. And, you know, it's just like, people are still people. And this overall concept, I do believe they need to try to understand other people and not just be so inside of themselves and so prideful about their country. And being prideful is not a bad thing. It's just that when you know that there are mixed race people, when you know that there are people that are not Japanese that are in the culture, it's something to definitely think about and to consider, so that people don't feel like that they're less than. And it hurts me a lot when I see that. It hurts me when this conversation comes up, and constantly, even I could talk about my own race, when people are so bitter and they're like, "No, you're not this, you're not that." It's like, get a hobby. Get something else to do. You got too much time to be worried about someone else's life. It's not your experience. You do not know what they go through. There are people that have a parent that is one race, parent that's another race. There are Japanese people that tell them they're not pure Japanese, they're not Japanese, but they have a whole Japanese parent at home. I think it's hilarious. It's funny to me. And this is something that really needs to be thought about, dissected, discussed. Because we're going to keep talking about this. You know, it's not going to go away. You might think it's going to go away. It's not. It's going to be more and more mixed race people that are going to come along. And you're going to have to keep talking about this. You can ignore it, but it's not good to ignore it. You're going to make the problem worse. I also want to say another thing, because I'm not biased on this channel. It is problematic when someone says that they're Japanese on the inside, or that they have a Japanese heart, because you will never know what it's like to be Japanese. You will never walk a day in their shoes. You will never be able to live in their skin or in their body to know what they go through. And the same could be said about me being black. They will never know what it's like to be black. So people don't really mean harm, I don't think, when they say this. I think they try to feel a connection and a closeness to the culture that they like. I mean, if they're not mixed race, I mean, if they're mixed race, then they are Japanese. So you guys, this is a lot to think about. Follow my social media, mostly my Instagram. I also have a blog on East Asian pop culture. The link is always down in the description box below. My voice got so deep. And bam, remember, be real, stay real, live in the real, and I will be back. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves now.